Greetings. Today is the 23rd day of June. We are now officially in summer. All things are continuing to trend in the right direction here, COVID-wise, and with the anticipated Phase 3 of the four-phase reopening plan taking effect on June 30th, we'll once again have the opportunity to return to some services here in the Cathedral. Beginning on Sunday, July 4th, we will have a 10 a.m. service of Eucharist, just the one Sunday service in person for the time being. This one service will allow staff and volunteers who have been going all out for a year and a half now a bit of downtime. And with the service recorded and posted on our Facebook and YouTube channels, you can tune in at your convenience. For those wishing to attend the Sunday service in person, we would ask that you reserve seating via the Eventbrite service on our website, just as we were doing prior to the spring lockdown. That will assure you that you do have a place to sit when you come with your family, as we are restricted to a capacity of 100 people, and it will also enable contact tracing should that be necessary. Even if you've been vaccinated, social distancing and masking requirements remain in place. On the following Wednesday, July 7th, we will add a weekly Eucharist at 7:30 in the morning, and Friday a noon-hour Book of Common Prayer Eucharist. These weekday services do not require advance booking. And don't forget to join the Cathedral community for morning prayer Monday through Saturday, posted typically by 6 a.m., but available all day long on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, every Wednesday, tune in for this update, a poem, a song, and a prayer. A reminder as well that the Synod Office and Cathedral Office entrance at the Diocesan Center is open 8:30 to 2 p.m. There is a drop box there, and you can also ring the doorbell to speak to any of us who are in the building. This coming Monday will be the final session of the Pray As You Can series. This Monday reflecting on the teachings and prayer life of Henry Nouwen. That's Monday, 6:30 via Zoom. To connect, send an email to prayasucan3@gmail.com. The online Zoom meditation group continues through until July 1st. That's Thursday evenings at 6:30. And then Heather and Francis will take a few weeks off and resume again July 15th. To register for this Zoom meditation, again, send an email to prayasucan3@gmail.com. We have a parish mailing going out at the end of the week, so keep an eye on your mailbox. And thank you for your continued support. And keep safe this summer. On this day in history, there is no particular saint or feast day to commemorate in the Church's calendar. Yesterday was St. Alban, tomorrow the birth of John the Baptist. But an interesting event took place on this day back in 2013 that many of you may remember. As someone who has a fear of heights, there is for me personally both a palm-sweating anxiety reading about and seeing pictures of this, but also a kind of fascination and awe. For on this day in 2013, Nick Wallenda became the first person to walk a tightrope wire across the Colorado River Gorge at Grand Canyon National Park in Arizona. The distance across that gorge is 1/4 of a mile, and he walked on a 2-inch thick steel cable 1,500 feet over the canyon floor with no safety harness. Wearing jeans, a t-shirt, and holding a 43-pound balancing pole, he prayed out loud as he walked, completing that distance in 23 minutes. Now, Nick is the great-grandson of Karl Wallenda, who was born in Germany in 1905 into a family of circus performers. Karl began performing at the age of 6, and then in his teens, according to Wikipedia, answered an ad for a, quote, hand balancer with courage. And there he learned the art of high wire. In 1922, Karl put together his own act with his brother Herman, Joseph Geiger, and a teenage girl, Helen Kress, who would eventually become his wife. They became known as the Flying Wallendas. Their act toured Europe for several years, and then with the famous Ringling Brothers traveling circus. Carl, would continue to perform into his 70s. Now, while Nick's walk on this day was impressive, the year before, on June 15th, 2012, he had become the first person to walk directly over Niagara Falls at its widest point. He crossed an 1,800-foot-long, 7-ton wire that was stretched from the U.S. side of the falls to the Canadian side at a height of about 200 feet. It took him 25 minutes to make the journey. And because the event was being televised live around the world, broadcast officials required him to wear a safety tether just in case he fell. He didn't. Now, this could inspire a song like Tom Petty's Free Falling, but that's not where I wanted to go today. But that's a great song to look up anyway. Because today I want to acknowledge all those that are graduating this month. In these very strange times, schools have had to be creative in hosting ceremonies to acknowledge their graduates and their accomplishments, just as they have had to do with teaching for the past 2 academic years. Citadel High School here in Halifax is holding individual ceremonies starting today through Friday. So in choosing a poem, there are lots of traditional words of wisdom from greats like Kipling's If, Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken, or poems by Walt Whitman or Bronte. But I happened upon a spoken word poem by a young man by the name of Donovan Livingston. He was the valedictory speaker at Harvard in the field of education in 2016. His message was timely then, but perhaps even more poignant now in light of the past year's events. In it, he addresses his country's history of systemic racism and what it is like to be a Black person seeking to bring change to a new generation as a soon-to-be educator himself. The question of how to inspire despite the challenges and help everyone discover their voice, their potential, their innate worth. Spoken word poetry may appear to be a modern form of poetry, often considered a kind of performance art, incorporating elements of satire or social commentary in a rhythmic cadence, borrowing from jazz and hip-hop music styles, but its roots go back to the very beginnings of the oral tradition of storytelling, long before words were ever written down. As one person notes, there were poets long before there were printing presses. Poetry is primarily oral utterance, to be spoken aloud, to be heard. Or to quote T.S. Eliot, poetry remains one person talking to another. Poetry, like music, appeals to the ear. Now, you may recall the young woman Amanda Gorman who recited her spoken word poem, The Hill We Climb, at President Biden's inauguration. There's a good example. Or Dimini Awoja, who shared her poem, Together We Stand, here at the Cathedral back in February. So for the class of 21, here is Donovan Livingston's poem reflecting on his own education and his quest to become a teacher of others. He begins. Education, then, beyond all other devices of human origin, is a great equalizer of the conditions of men. Horace Mann, 1848. At the time of his remarks, I couldn't read, couldn't write, any attempt to do so punishable by death. For generations we have known of knowledge's infinite power, yet somehow we've never questioned the keeper of the keys, the guardians of information. Unfortunately, I've seen more dividing and conquering in this order of operations, a heinous miscalculation of reality. For some, the only difference between a classroom and a plantation is time. How many times must we be made to feel like quotas, like tokens in a coined phrase, diversity, inclusion? There are days I feel like one, like only a lonely blossom in a briar patch of broken promises. But I've always been a thorn in the side of injustice, disruptive, talkative, a distraction, with a passion that transcends the confines of my consciousness. Beyond your curriculum, beyond your standards, I stand here a manifestation of love and pain with veins pumping revolution. I am the strange fruit that grew too ripe for the poplar tree. I am a dream act, dream deferred, incarnate. I am a movement, an amalgam of memories America would care to forget. My past alone won't allow me to sit still, so my body, like the mind, cannot be contained. As educators, rather than raising your voices over the rustling of our chains, take them off, uncuff us. Unencumbered by the lumbering weight of poverty and privilege, policy and ignorance. I was in the 7th grade when Mrs. Parker told me, "Donovan, we can put your excess energy to good use." And she introduced me to the sound of my own voice. She gave me a stage, a platform. She told me that our stories are ladders that make it easier for us to touch the stars. So climb and grab them. Keep climbing, grab them. Spill your emotions in the Big Dipper and pour out your soul. Light up the world with your luminous allure. To educate requires Galileo-like patience. Today, when I look my students in the eyes, all I see are constellations. If you take the time to connect the dots, you can plot the true shape of their genius, shining in the darkest hour. I look each of my students in the eyes and see the same light that aligned Orion's belt and the pyramids of Giza. I see the same twinkle that guided Harriet to freedom. I see them. Beneath their masks and mischief exists an authentic frustration and enslavement to your standardized assessments. At the core, none of us were meant to be common. We were born to be comets, darting across space and time, leaving our mark as we crash into everything. A crater is a reminder that something amazing happened here, an indelible impact that shook up the world. Are we not astronomers looking for the next shooting star? I teach in hopes of turning content into rocket ships, tribulations into telescopes, so a child can see their potential from right where they stand. And injustice is telling them they are stars without acknowledging the night that surrounds them. Injustice is telling them education is the key while you continue to change the locks. Education is no equalizer. Rather, it is the sleep that precedes the dream. So wake up, lift up your voices until you've patched every hole in a child's broken sky. Wake up every child so they know of their celestial potential. I've been a black hole in the classroom for far too long, absorbing everything without allowing my light to escape. But those days are done. I belong among the stars, and so do you, and so do they. Together we can inspire galaxies of greatness for generations to come. No, sky is not the limit. It is only the beginning. Lift off. That poem by Donovan Livingston, Harvard's Convocation 2016, you can find a YouTube video of him reciting that online. Now, as for song, If you are graduating this year, then you entered kindergarten when Taylor Swift released her first album. That's hard to believe. Taylor Swift will turn 32 on her birthday this year. So if we turn back the hands of time, one of my favorites would be Bruce Springsteen's song, No Surrender, which speaks about cutting loose from the ties of the past. We learned more in a 3-minute record than we ever learned in school, and launching out into the future with unstoppable dreams and ambitions, because we made a promise we swore we'd always remember: no retreat, no surrender. But let me suggest a classic, well, actually two. Now, the lyrics of these songs certainly don't hold a candle to Donovan's poem, but the simple music and lyrics capture something of the tone and mood of this parting of the ways, the leaving behind of the familiar, as graduates step out into the unknown. From the pop rock band Green Day, 2 songs: The Time of Your Life, subtitled Good Riddance, and Wake Me Up When September Ends. So congratulations to students and families who have made this journey in these unprecedented times. And a heartfelt thank you to all those teachers and mentors who have sacrificed so much to make this transition of life possible. As a closing prayer, here is one based on a traditional 4-fold Franciscan blessing. The words seemed apt for those beginning their new journeys into an uncharted future. So let us pray. As we give thanks to God for all that has been accomplished in your lives, let us also pray for the opportunities and challenges that await. And may God bless you with discomfort at easy answers and half-truths and superficial relationships, so that you may live deep within your heart. May God bless you with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people, so that you may work for justice, freedom, and peace. And may God bless you with tears to shed for those who suffer pain, rejection, hunger, want, and war, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and turn their pain to joy. And may God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in the world, so that you can do what others claim cannot be done. May your integrity be a gift to the world, and may the Spirit of God be with you always. Amen. Keep in touch, stay safe, and keep the faith until we meet again.